The following program is a work of fiction. The station, broadcast, and events depicted are for narrative and entertainment purposes only. This is the final transmission of the last light relay. If you are hearing this, you are within the reach of our signal.
Good evening. This is WLLR 9913 AM, the planetarium overnight feed, broadcasting from the projection booth above the main dome. My name is Adler Voss. I am the night operator. If you're hearing this, you've tuned into our usual 11 to 5 astronomy bulletin, and I want to tell you up front that tonight is not the show I prepared. I had a script ready. 12 minutes on Saturn's rings, a callback to last week's Perseid leftovers, a soft segment on a child's letter from a school in Lacombe, asking whether the moon was lonely. I had coffee in a paper cup. I had the dome cooled to 62 degrees, because that's the temperature I think best in. Everything was ordinary at the start of my shift. It is not ordinary now. About 40 minutes ago, our automated alignment system flagged a tracking error on Jupiter. That happens. Optics drift, motors age, software lies. I corrected it manually, the way I've done 100 times. Except the correction didn't take. Jupiter wasn't where Jupiter is supposed to be. Not slightly, not within a margin. It was wrong by 1.5 degrees of arc, which, for those of you who don't know what that means, is roughly 3 full moons sideways from where it lives. Then Mars moved. I watched it move. Not across the sky in the slow, patient way that planets move. I mean, I was looking through the auxiliary scope on the roof, and the dot of Mars shifted in the eyepiece while my eye was on it. It traveled. It settled into a new place, and it stayed there. I want to be very calm with you tonight. I want to read this the way I would read any other bulletin. Because I have a school bus on a service road outside mile 14, with a driver and 9 children on board. And they are listening to this broadcast on the bus radio, and I am the only steady voice they have right now. So I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep talking until somebody who can actually help gets to them. This is WLLR 9913 AM. Stay with me. The bus is a late field trip return. Mrs. Halverson's 3rd and 4th graders, out at the observatory annex for an after-dark astronomy night that the district reschedules every spring. They were supposed to roll back into town at 10:30. They didn't. At 10:46, the driver, a woman named Rena, sent a text to the planetarium's general inbox, which is the inbox I monitor, asking if I could check whether the highway was closed. She said the GPS was confused. She said the sky looked off. I want to read her exact words, because I think they matter. Adler. Rena from the field trip bus. GPS keeps rerouting me onto roads that don't exist. Sky looks off. Kids noticed first. Can you check highway status? Don't want to scare them. That was at 10:46. I checked the highway status. The highway was open. I texted her back. I told her to stay on Service 14 until she hit the 4-way at Pelham, then cut east. She said, okay. At 10:51, she sent again. Pelham 4-way is gone. Just a field. Kids are quiet. One of them, Iris, says the stars are in the wrong houses. She keeps using that word. Houses. What do I do? I did not have an answer for her. I sat in the booth and I looked at my own ceiling, the projected sky, the one I control, and I looked at the live feed from the roof scope, and the two of them no longer agreed. My ceiling was showing the constellations I had loaded for tonight. My roof was showing something else. I told Rena to stop the bus. Stop the bus. Put the hazards on. Keep the engine running. Keep the radio tuned to us. I told her I would stay on air. I told her I would talk her home. I have been talking her home for 38 minutes. In that time, the following things have happened. The Aurora Alert System, which only triggers above 60 degrees latitude, has gone off in 3 states it has no business going off in. The National Weather Service's overnight feed has stopped updating. The last entry is a barometric pressure reading from a station in Nebraska that registered a drop of 40 millibars in 90 seconds, which is not a number that a station should ever produce. 2 airline pilots in our listening area have radioed the regional tower to ask why their attitude indicators show the horizon at a slope. The tower didn't answer them. I heard this because a friend of mine works ground control, and he texted me, and his text said only, "Adler, are you seeing this?" And I said yes, and he said, "I'm going home. I'm sorry." And then he stopped responding. The thing I want you to understand before I go any further is that none of this is happening in a movie. None of this is being narrated by a man with a script. I'm reading off 3 monitors and a phone, and the phone is the only one still telling me anything I recognize. The bus is on service 14. The bus is not moving. Rena is waiting. Let's go to the next update. The first object I can confirm out of place is Venus. I know Venus. Anyone in my profession knows Venus the way a baker knows flour. She has a routine. She is the evening star or the morning star, depending on the season. She sits low, she shines bright, and she does not surprise you. Tonight, Venus is overhead, directly overhead, 90 degrees up, where the sun would be at noon if the sun were behaving, which I have no current reason to assume. I confirmed this 2 ways. Roof scope, naked eye through the dome's open shutter. Both agree. Venus is wrong. The second is Jupiter, which I mentioned. Jupiter has slid east by about 1.5 degrees and is sitting next to a star that, according to my catalogs, does not exist. I queried 3 different databases. The star isn't in any of them. It's bright, it's blue-white, it's steady, and it isn't logged. The third is the moon. The moon is the one I don't want to talk about, because the moon is the thing my listeners can verify themselves, and I don't want any of you walking outside right now. But I have to be honest with you, because Rena's kids are looking up through the bus windows, whether I want them to or not. And they deserve to hear an adult name what they're seeing. The moon is in 2 places. There is a full moon at its expected position, about 32 degrees above the southwestern horizon, where my charts say it should be. And there is a second moon, slightly smaller, slightly more yellow, at roughly the 11 o'clock position from the first. They are not the same brightness. The second one is dimmer. It looks the way a reflection looks in a window when there's a lamp behind you. I do not have an explanation for the second moon. I have been calling around. Our sister station at the university hasn't answered. The regional NOAA office is sending only an automated holding message. A colleague of mine in Tucson, who runs a private observatory and never sleeps, sent me a single text 12 minutes ago that read, "Adler, don't try to chart it. The chart is what it's eating." I don't know what that means. I'm telling you anyway, because I promised at the start of this broadcast that I would tell you what I was told, in the order I was told it, with no edits. Hold with me. I need to update Rena. I sent Rena a message. I asked how the children were holding up. I asked specifically about Iris, the one who used the word houses. Rena wrote back fast. "Kids are calm, calmer than me. They're at the windows. Iris is the one talking. The others are just listening to her." I asked what Iris was saying. Rena sent me a voice transcription. She typed it because Iris wouldn't speak into the phone directly. Iris is 9 years old. Rena said Iris told her very seriously that the stars were going back to their houses and that the empty one was finally home. Rena asked which one was the empty one, and Iris pointed up and to the left, and Rena looked up and to the left, and there was the second moon. Iris called it Senna. That's the word she used. Senna. She said, Senna is back. Senna's been gone the longest. Don't be scared. The grown-ups just forgot. I want to be careful here. I want to be very careful. Because what I'm about to say, I have to say without making it bigger than it is. I queried our archive for the name Senna in any astronomical catalog, any historical chart, any folklore database the planetarium subscribes to. Nothing. Then I queried the children's storybook collection we keep in the gift shop, the one we use for school visits. Also, nothing. Then, because something occurred to me, I queried our own internal mythology supplement, the one we use for cultural context segments. Senna does not appear there either. And then I did one more thing, which I'm going to be honest about because I want this on the record. I asked Iris through Rena where she heard the name. Rena wrote back. She says she didn't hear it. She says she remembered it. I am 39 years old. I have been doing astronomy for most of my life. I have never, in any context, encountered the name Senna applied to a celestial body. And yet when Rena texted me the word, I felt something in my chest catch. The way you catch when somebody says the name of an old street you lived on as a child and hadn't thought of in 20 years. I felt like I remembered it too. I'm going to take a breath. We'll go to the next update. This is WLLR 9913, AM, Planetarium Overnight Feed, your host Adler Voss, in the booth, alone with the dome open above me and the city quieter than it should be at this hour. I want to do something normal for a moment. Station identification, weather, time check. It is currently 11:43 p.m. local time. The temperature on the roof sensor is reading 54 degrees Fahrenheit, dropping. Humidity 61%. Wind from the northwest at 6 miles an hour. Visibility in any direction I can confirm is excellent. The forecast for tomorrow was supposed to be partly cloudy, high of 71. I'm going to read that again because I want you to hear it. Partly cloudy. High of 71. Sunrise at 6:14 a.m. Sunset at 8:02 p.m. Normal day, normal sky. Now I'm going to tell you what just happened while I was reading that. While I was reading the forecast, the dome above me darkened. Not because of a cloud. The projection system, which is currently off because I'm not running a show, lit up on its own and overlaid a star map across the ceiling. I didn't input the map. The console is locked. I'm looking at it now, and the input field is empty. The map on my ceiling has 14 objects on it that aren't in any standard catalog. They are positioned in what appears to be a coherent pattern, not a scatter. Concentric, like orbits. In the center of the pattern is a body labeled in the projection system's default font, the way it always labels things during a children's show, Senna. I did not type that label. The console is locked. The system is off. We will not be right back. There is no commercial break on the overnight feed. I said that because I needed 3 seconds of silence to look at my hands and decide what kind of broadcaster I'm going to be for the rest of tonight. I have decided. I am going to keep transmitting. I am going to keep talking to Rena. I am going to keep reading you the messages I receive, the readings I observe, and of things I cannot explain. I am not going to pretend. I am not going to perform. If I get scared, you will hear me get scared. If I run out of words, you will hear me run out. I owe you that. I owe Rena that. I owe Iris and the other 8 children on that bus the dignity of a working adult voice in their radio, even if the adult is me, and the voice is mine, and neither of us was prepared for any of this. Here is what I know, summarized, before we move forward. Multiple planets have moved from their expected positions in a way that contradicts every model of celestial mechanics I am aware of. A second moon has appeared. A child on a stranded school bus has named one of the new objects with a word that has produced an inexplicable recognition response in me, an experienced adult, and possibly in others. Communications with regional authorities are degrading. The planetarium's own projection system has begun displaying maps I did not author. I have 1 bus, 1 driver, 9 children, and a sky that no longer agrees with the ground. I am going to get them home. Stay with me. This is WLLR 9913 AM. Rena texted me it again at 11:51. The message was 3 words long. Compass is spinning. I asked her to clarify. She sent a photo. The bus has a small ceiling-mounted compass above the dashboard, the kind they put in older fleet vehicles for the drivers who don't trust digital displays. In the photo, the needle is rotating, not jittering, rotating, slowly, smoothly, like a second hand on a clock. Counterclockwise, I asked her how long it had been doing that. She said it started about a minute after Iris named the second moon. I want to be the calm voice here, but I'm going to admit something. I went to my own desk drawer. I keep a small brass compass in there, a gift from my father, who taught high school earth sciences and believed every educator should be able to find north without a phone. I opened the drawer. I put the compass on my desk. The needle pointed north. I exhaled. Then, while I was watching it, the needle began to turn. Slowly, smoothly, counterclockwise, matching the bus. I have no scientific framework for what I just saw. I want that on record. I am not going to invent one to comfort you. What I will say is this. Magnetic anomalies of this scale, if real, would be detected by every commercial aviation system in the country within minutes. So either every commercial aviation system in the country is detecting this and not reporting it, or what I saw isn't magnetic in the way I understand magnetism. I sent a query to a colleague at the Geomagnetic Monitoring Station in Boulder. The query bounced. Not a busy signal, not an out of office. The address itself returned as unrecognized, which is impossible, because I have emailed that address every month for 6 years. I tried a different colleague. Same bounce. I tried the planetarium's own internal directory. My supervisor's name is no longer listed. I scrolled up and down. He's gone. 22 years of employment, removed from the directory while I was looking at it. I'm not panicking. I want you to know that I'm not panicking. I am, however, lowering the lights in the booth because I noticed I've been sweating, and the dome is cold enough that I shouldn't be. Rena sent another message. Iris says the compass is fine. She says it's just pointing at Senna now. She says compasses always wanted to. I am going to read that one more time. She says compasses always wanted to. A friend who works at a regional flight desk forwarded me a series of pilot reports from the last hour. I'm going to read them to you, because I want a record of these existing somewhere outside the aviation system, in case the aviation system continues to lose things. Pilot 1, regional jet at 32,000 feet, eastbound. Horizons tilted 10 degrees off level. Instruments confirm the aircraft is level. Requesting guidance. Tower response, per the transcript. Maintain current heading. Disregard the visual horizon. Pilot 2, cargo flight at 28,000 feet, southbound. I have a second moon at my 2 o'clock high. Confirm I have a second moon at my 2 o'clock high. The co-pilot also has visuals. Please advise. Tower response. Disregard visual. Continue on course. Pilot 3, private aircraft at 9,000 feet. There's a city below me. I don't recognize it. GPS shows me over open farmland. Please advise. Tower response, per the transcript, and I want to read this exactly. Sir, please describe the city. The pilot's response was not in the transcript. The transcript ends there. My contact said the aircraft is still on radar, still moving, still on course. The pilot has not transmitted again. I am sitting in the booth thinking about that question. Please describe the city. That's not a tower question. A tower does not ask a pilot to describe what they're seeing on the ground. A tower asks for altitude, heading, status. A tower asks for facts the tower can verify. Please describe the city with a different kind of question. It is the question you ask when you don't know either. I'm writing this down because I think tonight is going to produce a lot of moments where the people who are supposed to know don't know, and the people who aren't supposed to know are the ones with the answer. Iris on the bus. The third pilot, somewhere over a city that may or may not exist. Maybe me, in this booth, with a projection I didn't make on the ceiling. I want to be a person who knows things. I have spent my whole career trying to be the person who knows things, especially about the sky. Tonight, my whole career is a desk lamp in a dark room, and I am not the brightest object in it. Rena texted again. Iris is teaching the other kids the names. She says there are 7 we forgot. She's writing them on the window with her finger. Adler, the breath fog, is staying on the glass. The names are staying on the glass. I'm scared. Rena, I'm scared too. I'm not going to write that to her. I'm going to write back something steady. But I'm telling you, because you asked for honesty. Rena sent me the 7 names. She typed them as Iris wrote them on the window. I'm going to read them to you, and then I'm going to tell you what happens when I do. Ready? Senna, Marowell, Sendir, Half Veil, the long listener, Bratlin, and the last one, which Iris wrote with 2 fingers instead of 1, because she said it was the big one, Ornan below. I want to tell you that I read those names and felt nothing. I want to tell you they sounded made up. I want to tell you Iris is 9, and children make things up, and adults take them too seriously. I cannot tell you any of that. When I read Marowell, I remembered a song my mother used to hum when she was washing dishes. I have not thought of that song in 30 years. I cannot tell you the lyrics. I can tell you the melody. The melody is in my head right now, and I do not know why reading the word Marowell produced it. When I read Sendir, I remembered the smell of a particular kind of dust that gathered on the shelf above my bed when I was 6. Not any dust. That dust, with a slight sweetness to it. When I read Half Veil, I remembered that I used to be afraid of a specific corner of the basement, and I remembered that the fear had a shape, and I remembered that I had named the shape something when I was very small, and I cannot remember the name I gave it, but I know it began with the same sound as half. I am being honest with you. I am 39 years old, and I have a master's degree in astrophysics, and I am sitting in a locked booth reading a list of words a 9-year-old wrote in breath fog, and the words are reaching down into me, and pulling things up that have been quiet for decades. The long listener. That one I won't write again. I'm sorry. I read it once, and I felt something turn its head, and I would rather not turn it again. Bratlin made me laugh. I don't know why. It was the laugh you laugh when a friend you haven't seen in years sends you a stupid joke, and you remember exactly the way they used to tell it. On and below, I cannot describe. I'm going to be a professional and say I cannot describe it. Rena texted while I was reading the list. Adler, the kids on the bus, they're all writing names on the windows now. They aren't talking to each other, they're just writing. The windows are full. The windows are full. We'll continue. I tried to call my sister. This is not professional. I'm putting it in the broadcast anyway. My sister lives in St. Paul. She has 2 kids. I tried to call her because I wanted to hear an adult voice that was not coming through a text message, and because if the sky was wrong over my city, it might be wrong over hers, and I wanted to know. The call did not connect. I do not mean it rang and went to voicemail. I mean my phone displayed her name, said connecting, and then displayed the words no recipient. Those are not standard error words on my phone. I've never seen that phrase on my phone before. No recipient. I tried my mother. Same result. No recipient. I tried my own voicemail, which is a thing you can do to test whether your phone is working. The phone called. The voicemail answered. I heard the standard greeting. Then I heard faintly behind the greeting, breathing. Slow, even breathing. Not mine. The greeting kept playing over it, my own recorded voice telling me to leave a message after the tone, and underneath my voice was someone breathing. I hung up. I am not going to call my voicemail again. Rena texted. Tried to call my husband. Says no recipient. What does that mean? I told her it meant the network was overloaded. I told her texts were getting through, and that was what mattered. I told her to keep the engine running, keep the kids together, and keep me updated. She said, okay. Then she said, Adler, the road behind us is gone. I can see the road in front. The road behind is just field. We didn't move. I asked her to confirm. She sent a photo out the back window. There is no road in the photo. There is grass, low and flat, going to a horizon that does not have the right number of stars over it. I'm going to ask you, the listeners, a question, and I want you to answer it only for yourselves, in your own home, without telling anyone. Look at something familiar in the room with you. A doorway, a window frame, the edge of a piece of furniture you've owned for years. Is it the way you remember it? Don't answer me. Just check. There is no commercial break. I said after this, out of habit. There is only me and the next sentence. The booth door has changed. I want to describe this carefully so that I do not sound dramatic. The booth door is the door I walked through at the start of my shift at 10 p.m. It is a steel core door with a small reinforced window at eye level, a horizontal push bar, and a sign on the inside that reads no entry during shows. The sign is laminated. The laminate is yellowed at the corners. The bar is scratched where I have hit it with my coffee cup more times than I can count. The door is still steel core. The bar is still there. The sign is still there. The yellowing is still there. The scratches are still there. The hinges are on the wrong side. I came in through that door. I came in from the hallway. The hallway is to my left. The door used to open inward, toward me, with the hinges on the right side as I face it from inside the booth. They are now on the left. I have not moved. The booth has not moved. I have been in this chair for 1 hour and 47 minutes. The hinges moved. I want to test the door, but I do not want to open it. I am going to tell you why I do not want to open it. If I open the door and the hallway is there, I will be relieved, and then I will spend the rest of tonight wondering whether the hallway was always there, or whether it appeared because I expected it to. If I open the door and the hallway is not there, I will not be able to close the door fast enough to make it not have happened. So I am going to leave the door closed. I am going to keep the broadcast going. I am going to read Rena's next message, which just arrived. Adler, one of the kids is sleeping. He won't wake up. He's smiling. His name is Theo. Rena says he's 7. He was in the second to back row by the window. He had been writing on the glass with the others. Then he stopped writing, leaned his head against the window, and went to sleep. Rena tried to wake him. He smiled, but did not open his eyes. His breathing is slow and even. He is warm. He is not, in any clinical sense, unconscious in a way Rena recognizes from her first aid training, which she took 2 years ago for this job. He is just sleeping and smiling and not coming back. I asked Rena what Iris said about Theo. Rena said Iris looked at him and said, Theo went first because Theo was ready. Don't be sad. He's just listening from closer. I asked Rena if Iris said anything else. Rena said, Iris said the rest of us aren't ready yet. She said we still have things on the windows to finish. She said it's okay. The bus is a good place to wait. I want to be honest about my reaction to that. My reaction was relief. That is not the reaction I should have had. The reaction I should have had is alarm. The reaction I should have had is escalation. A child is unresponsive. That is a medical emergency. That is a 911 call. That is a refusal to wait. But 911 isn't answering, and Rena said the smile on his face is the kind of smile a person makes when they are home, and I, sitting in this booth, felt relief. And I want you to know that I felt it, because I think that's important. Something tonight is making the wrong feelings feel correct. I'm going to fight that, for Rena, for the children, for myself. 12:14 a.m. I want to timestamp this because timestamps are one of the things I still trust. I attempted in the last 10 minutes to reach the following: County Emergency Services, State Police District 4, the Regional Federal Aviation Field Office, the planetarium's after-hours administrative line, my supervisor's personal cell, the operator of the observatory annex where the bus departed from, and the local fire station 3 blocks from this building. Of those 7 attempts, 1 returned a result: the local fire station. Their automated line picked up and played a recording I had never heard before, which I am going to transcribe for you exactly. Thank you for calling. We are currently experiencing a coverage event. Please remain indoors. Please do not look directly at the sky. Please do not attempt to verify what you have seen. A representative will be with you when the event concludes. This message will not repeat. It did not repeat. The line went dead. Coverage event. That is not a phrase the fire service uses. I have lived in this town for 11 years. I have called that station for various professional reasons. They use words like incident, dispatch, response. They do not use the phrase coverage event. Also, please do not attempt to verify what you have seen. I have been a broadcaster for 16 years. I have read hundreds of public safety advisories on this very feed. They tell you to evacuate. They tell you to shelter. They tell you to boil water, tape windows, fill bathtubs. They do not tell you to refuse to verify your own senses. Whoever made that recording is asking the public to stop checking. I'm going to do the opposite of what that recording says. I am going to keep looking. Carefully. Not at the dangerous things. Not directly. But I am going to keep verifying. I am going to keep naming. Because the alternative is letting a recording I don't recognize tell my listeners to close their eyes inside their own homes. Rena texted. Adler, 2 more kids are sleeping. Iris is still awake. Iris is holding Theo's hand. She says she's keeping him company until we catch up. I want to ask Rena something, and I'm afraid to ask it. So I'm going to ask it on the air. And Rena, if you're listening, you can answer or not. Rena, is Iris awake the way an awake 9-year-old is awake, or is she awake the way an adult is awake? I'll wait. While I wait. The dome above me has now displayed 11 additional labeled bodies in the projection system I do not control. I am not going to read their names. Some of them are the names Iris wrote. Some of them are new. One of them, in the center of the dome, has no label, only a symbol I do not recognize. The symbol is moving, not the projection, the symbol itself. It is rearranging its own lines slowly, like a hand learning how to write. Rena answered. She's awake like a grown-up. She's awake like she's been awake before. She's not scared. She's patient. Adler, I don't think Iris is 9. I'm going to leave that on the air. I'm not going to comment on it. I'm not going to speculate about possession or visitation or whatever the late-night caller framework would do with that sentence. And I'm going to leave it as Rena said it, because Rena is on the ground, and I am not. And Rena is the one looking at Iris's face. Rena added one more line. She asked me if I wanted to remember too. I said no. She said that was fine. She said it has to be a yes. It has to be a yes. I want to mark that. I want to mark it because in the middle of everything strange tonight, that sentence is the kindest thing I have heard. Whatever is happening, whatever is naming itself through a child on a stranded bus, whatever has rewritten the sky over my city, it is, according to a 9-year-old, asking permission. That is not how invasions work. That is not how disasters work. That is something else. I want to say on the record that I am not going to romanticize this. 3 children on that bus are asleep and smiling and not waking up. A pilot has disappeared into a city that does not exist. My sister will not answer her phone. The fire department is recording messages I have never heard. This is not benign because it asks first. A flood asks first, too, if you watch the rain long enough. I'm going to refocus. I'm going to do the thing a broadcaster does when the broadcaster is losing the thread. I'm going to take stock. The bus is stationary on service 14. 9 children, 1 adult. 3 children asleep. 1 child, Iris, awake in a way that is not 9 years old. 1 driver, Rena, holding the line. 1 operator, me, holding the channel. Outside the booth, I do not know what is true. Inside the booth, I have a microphone and a list. We continue. I keep an old star atlas in the bottom drawer of the booth's reference desk. It belonged to a previous operator, a man named Holloway, who retired before I was hired. The atlas is from 1953. It is hand-annotated. Holloway was the kind of person who underlined things and wrote in the margins. I've used the atlas perhaps twice in 11 years, mostly to settle bets about historical star names. I went to the drawer 10 minutes ago. I pulled out the atlas. I'm going to tell you what I found. On the inside front cover, in Holloway's handwriting, in pencil, faded but legible, is a list. The list has 7 names on it. The list begins with Senna and ends with Onen below. The middle 5 match what Iris wrote on the bus window, in order. At the bottom of the list, also in Halloway's handwriting, is the sentence, "If they ask, the answer is no." I want to be careful again. I want to consider the possibility that I am seeing what I expect to see. I want to consider the possibility that my mind, under stress, is overlaying Iris's list onto a list that says something else. So, I took a photograph of the page. I am looking at the photograph now, on my phone. The list is still there. The names are still there. The sentence at the bottom is still there. Halloway is dead. He died in 2011. I went to his memorial service. I shook his widow's hand. He cannot have written this list tonight. Which means either he wrote it before he died, in which case he knew. And he left it in the drawer for whoever was on shift when this happened, or the atlas itself has changed in the drawer while I was sitting 6 feet away from it. I do not know which possibility I prefer. I want to flip through the rest of the atlas. I want to see if other things have changed. I am going to be honest. I am afraid too. I am afraid that if I keep looking, I will keep finding, and that the atlas is the kind of thing that gives you what you go looking for. So I'm going to close the atlas. I'm going to put it back in the drawer. I'm going to leave the photograph on my phone as the only record I trust. Rena texted again. Adler. The grass outside the bus. It's moving, not in the wind, like something is under it. The kids who are awake aren't scared. They're waving at it. I asked Rena how many kids are still awake. She said 4, including Iris. 4 awake, 5 asleep, 1 driver, 9 total souls. I am going to keep that count updated as we go. I owe it to anyone who hears this later. I also owe it to myself, because the count is the one thing I can hold on to. The sky is not mine to hold. The road behind the bus is not mine to hold. My sister's phone is not mine to hold. The count of the children is mine. As long as I am counting, I am still doing my job. 9 souls. 9 souls on service 14. We continue. I want to tell you about my city, because I have not described it tonight. And I think you deserve to know what the streets below this dome look like right now. The booth has a small window on the east side. It is fogged in the corners from the cooling system. Through it, I can normally see down 4 floors to Pelham Avenue, which at this hour would have a steady scatter of headlights, a few late buses, the convenience store on the corner with its red sign humming, a couple of bars not quite closed. I'm looking through the window now. The street is empty. I do not mean quiet. I mean empty. No headlights, no pedestrians. The convenience store sign is on, but the inside of the store is dark. The bars are dark. The streetlights are on, but they are dimmer than they should be. The kind of dim that comes from a power feed that's borrowing from somewhere else. I do not see a single moving object on the street. The sky above the street is the wrong sky. I have already described what is wrong with the sky. I am not going to describe it again. I will only say that the second moon is brighter from this angle than it was an hour ago. And the first moon, the correct moon, looks faded, the way a photograph fades when it has been left in the sun. The correct moon is fading. I do not know what to do with that sentence. I want to put it down and back away from it. But I said I would tell you what I see, and I see it. Down on Pelham Avenue, something just walked across the street. I am not going to describe it. I am going to tell you that I saw it, that it crossed from east to west, that it did not move like a human moves, that it did not move like an animal moves, and that I am not going to look out the window again for the rest of this broadcast. The blinds are now closed. I am sorry. I should have closed them earlier. I am closing them now. The booth has only one window. It is now blind. The dome above me is still showing things I did not draw, but the dome is the dome, and I have been under it for years, and I trust it more than I trust the street. We continue. The observatory annex where Rena and the children departed from at 9:45 this evening has not responded to my outreach for the last hour. I want to be clear. I have been trying. 6 emails, 4 texts, 2 attempted calls. Nothing. 8 minutes ago, an email arrived from the annex's address. The subject line was blank. The body of the email was a single attachment, a photograph, and one sentence. The sentence was, "We thought you should see what's on our roof." I want to describe the photograph to you because I am not going to publish it anywhere. I'm going to describe it once, here, on the air, and then I'm going to delete it. The photograph is of the annex's flat roof, taken from the maintenance ladder at night, with the floodlights on. The roof has the usual equipment, the small dome enclosure, the antenna array, the HVAC unit, the safety railing. On the roof, sitting cross-legged near the antenna, is a child. The child is the size of a child of maybe 8 or 9. The child is facing the camera. The child is not Iris. The child is not anyone I recognize. The child is smiling. The child has too many teeth. I want to be careful with that last sentence. Too many teeth is the kind of phrase that turns horror into cliché, so I'm going to be specific. The child's mouth is open in a smile, and inside the smile, behind the front row of teeth, is another row of teeth, slightly smaller, slightly further back, and behind that row, a third. The rows are even. They are not jagged. They look like they belong there. They look like the teeth of something whose mouth was always meant to hold them. I deleted the photograph. I emailed back. I asked who took the photograph. I asked if anyone was still inside the annex. I asked if everyone was okay. The reply came in under 30 seconds. The reply said, "We don't know who took it. The camera that took it is not on our roof. The camera is in our break room. The break room is locked. The photograph appeared in our outbox." Then a second reply from the same address 10 seconds later. "There's another one now on our parking lot. Adler, please don't drive over here." I was not planning to drive over there. I am now even less planning to drive over there. We continue. Rena texted at 12:41. She said Iris had asked to speak to me directly. Rena had told her that I couldn't take a phone call. Iris had said that was fine. She would say one sentence, and Rena could write it down and send it to me. Iris said the sentence had to be exactly what she said, no editing. Rena sent it. I'm going to read it once. I am only going to read it once. I am not going to repeat it later in the broadcast. I am going to read it, and then I am going to keep going. Iris said, "Adler, the sky isn't wrong. You're standing on the wrong side of it." That is the sentence. I want to leave it there. I want to not unpack it. I want to not turn it into a metaphor for anything. I want to let it sit in the booth with me and finish whatever it came here to do. I will say only this. I have spent 11 years in this dome telling children that the ceiling is a sky. I have told them the projected stars are real stars, just brought close enough to learn from. I have always known, as the adult in the room, that the ceiling is a ceiling, and the sky is outside, and the children are looking up at the inside of a machine, while believing they are looking up at the universe. Iris just suggested that the orientation is reversed. Iris just suggested that the sky outside is the ceiling, and the ceiling I work under is the sky. I am going to keep my eyes on the console. I am going to keep my eyes on the microphone. I am not going to look up. We continue. 12:53 a.m. The station's text line, which I have been monitoring on a second screen, has been silent all night, because most of my listeners at this hour are truck drivers, late shift workers, insomniacs, and astronomy enthusiasts. And they tend to send messages only during call-in segments, which I do not run on overnights. A message just came in. The number is local. The area code matches the city. The message reads as follows. Adler, I'm in my kitchen. I live on Fenton Street. My husband is asleep upstairs. My daughter is asleep down the hall. I am the only one awake in this house. I can hear something humming in the walls. The hum is matching the pitch of my refrigerator. The hum was lower an hour ago. It is rising. When it matches my refrigerator exactly, the refrigerator goes quiet. Then the hum is the only thing left. Then the refrigerator starts again, and the hum is lower, and we start over. This has happened 4 times. I am writing to you because you are the only voice I can hear in this house that is not the hum. Please keep talking. I am going to keep talking. I want to acknowledge that listener directly. To you, on Fenton Street, in your kitchen, I hear you. I am still here. I am going to be here for the rest of this transmission, however long this transmission lasts. You don't have to write back. You can. You don't have to. I am going to ask the rest of you, the listeners who can, to also not be the only voices in your homes tonight. If you have someone in your house, let them know you are awake. Knock on a door, say their name from the hallway. Do not, and I cannot stress this enough, do not look out your windows toward the sky. Look at the inside of your house. Look at the people you live with. Look at the dog. Look at the floor. Look at things that have been the same shape for as long as you have known them. If the shapes are still the same, you are still in your house. If something is different, you do not need to investigate it. You only need to notice it, and then turn away, and then keep doing whatever you were doing. The thing in the walls of the house on Fenton Street is doing what it is doing, because someone in that house is the only one awake. There are other houses tonight where multiple people are awake. That is the safer house. Be the safer house if you can. We continue. Rena texted at 1:04. Adler, the Count. Just those words. I asked her to clarify. She did not respond for 2 minutes. Then she sent a photograph. The photograph is the bus interior from the driver's seat, looking back down the aisle. I counted the children. There are 10. There were 9. There are 10. The 10th is sitting in the very back row in the seat by the window, alone. The 10th is not facing the camera. The 10th is facing the window. I cannot see the 10th's face. I can see the back of a child-sized head. Rena texted again. I did not pick that one up. I did not stop the bus to let anyone on. The doors have not opened. Adler, I do not know where that one came from. I asked if Iris had said anything. Rena said, Iris said the new one is one of the ones we forgot. Iris said the new one is shy. Iris said not to look at the new one's face yet. I am going to make a decision. I am going to make it on the air so that you hear it as I make it. I am not going to ask Rena to investigate the 10th child. I am not going to ask her to look at the face. I am not going to ask her to count again. The count is now 10. The count will stay 10 in our records because that is what the photograph shows. I am going to ask Rena one question. and then I am going to leave the 10th child alone. The question is whether the 10th child is breathing." Rena answered, "Yes, same rhythm as the sleeping ones, slow and even, smiling." "Okay, the 10th child is breathing. The 10th child is smiling. The 10th child is not, by any definition I can apply, in distress. I am leaving the 10th child alone. I want to add, to whoever is hearing this and feeling that I have failed in my responsibility, that I considered every option I had. I am 4 miles from the bus. I have no vehicle. The streets outside my building are empty in a way I cannot describe. Rena is the only adult on that bus. If I send her into the back row to verify, and what she finds is not survivable, I have failed her, the children, and you. So I am leaving the 10th child alone. We continue. I need to tell you what's happening above me, because if I don't tell you, I'm going to start pretending it isn't happening, and that's the one promise I made tonight that I refuse to break. The dome is opening. The planetarium's main dome has a mechanical shutter, a slit that opens for telescope viewing during certain shows, controlled from a console 1 floor below me in the technical operations room. That console requires a key. The key is held by my supervisor, who, as I mentioned earlier, has been removed from the staff directory. The shutter is opening anyway. I can hear it. The motors have a particular sound, low and grinding, that I have heard maybe 100 times in 11 years. They are running now, slowly, smoothly. The slit above me is widening. I can see it in the dome's projection, which has gone partially transparent in the opening section, showing the real sky behind the false one. The real sky is not the sky I described earlier. Earlier tonight, the real sky had a second moon and a Venus directly overhead. The real sky was wrong by the standards of my profession, but it was still made of things I could name. The real sky right now, through the widening slit, is not made of things I can name. I am going to look at the console. I am going to look at my hands. I am going to look at the microphone. I am not going to look up through the slit. Rena texted, "Adler, Iris just stood up. She's walking to the back of the bus." The kids who were awake stood up too. They're walking to the back. They're sitting in the back rows, but all of them are facing the rear window. They're waiting for something. I am going to keep my voice steady. I am going to read the next sentence I have already decided to read, because if I improvise, I will say something I regret. To everyone listening on WLLR 9913 AM, this is a public service notice from your overnight planetarium broadcast. If you are inside, stay inside. If you are outside, find a roof, any roof, and put it between yourself and the sky. If you are driving, pull over. If you are in a building, go to an interior room, one without windows, and stay there. Do not look up. I am repeating that because earlier tonight a fire department recording told you the same thing, and I dismissed it as an instruction I did not trust. I am telling you now, as a private person and a working broadcaster, that the instruction was correct. I do not know who sent it. I do not know if they were on our side. I know that they were right. Do not look up. The shutter is more than halfway open. We continue. The overhead light in the booth just cut out. I am operating on the console glow and the small lamp at my desk, which is battery-powered and which I bought myself 3 years ago because the booth's wiring is old and I wanted insurance. The lamp is working. The console is working. The microphone is working. The rest of the booth is dark. I want to tell you what's strange about the dark. And then I want to tell you why I'm telling you. The dark is not empty. I am not saying there is something in the dark. I am saying the dark is itself thicker than I expect dark to be. When you turn off a lamp in a familiar room, your eyes adjust, and the room comes back in shades of gray. My eyes have adjusted. The room is not coming back. The dark is staying dark. The dark has texture. It is not the absence of light. It is the presence of something that absorbs light. I am keeping my desk lamp on. I am keeping my eyes on the console. I am not turning around. I want to make a confession on the air, because I think confessions belong on the air tonight. I am alone in this booth, and I have been alone in this booth all evening, and I have always been alone in this booth on overnight shifts for 11 years. But I do not feel alone right now. I have felt the particular weight of being watched from behind for the last 15 minutes, and I have been ignoring it, because acknowledging it requires turning around, and turning around requires leaving the console, and leaving the console requires stopping the broadcast. So I am not turning around. If something is behind me, it is behind me, and it will be behind me until this transmission ends. I am going to do my job until this transmission ends. Rena texted. Adler. The bus radio is the only light on the bus. Everything else went dark. The kids in the back rows are smiling at the dark window. Iris is the one with her hand on the radio. We continue. Rena said Iris is keeping the bus radio on. This is the detail that I want to give the rest of my evening to. The bus radio is on because a 9-year-old, who is awake in a way that is not 9 years old, has put her hand on it and is keeping it on. The bus radio is tuned to WLLR 9913 AM, which is me. Iris is keeping me audible to the bus. I want to say thank you. I want to say it directly to her, even though she is not the Iris she was at 8 p.m. tonight, even though she may be something much older wearing a 9-year-old's voice, even though I do not understand what is happening on that bus. I want to say thank you, because she could have turned off the radio. She could have let the bus go silent. She could have let the children on the back rows finish whatever they are doing without the interference of an adult voice from a planetarium dome. She didn't. She is holding the channel open. That is, in this hour, the kindest act I am aware of in this city. I have been telling myself all night that I am the one holding the channel open for the children. I am realizing now in the dark of the booth that it has been the other way around. Iris is holding the channel open for me. Iris is making sure that there is at least one adult voice still working in the room above the city, because that voice is the last orderly thing happening to anyone awake within this broadcast radius, and it would be very easy for the world to be quiet right now, and Iris, the version of Iris that is currently in that 9-year-old body, has decided that quiet is not yet allowed. I am going to keep deserving that. I am going to keep talking. I am going to keep being orderly. I am going to keep being the adult voice in the radio. To Iris, if any version of you is listening, I hear you. I see what you are doing. I am going to do my part. To Rena, hold on. I know you are tired. I know you are scared. I know your husband isn't answering. I am going to stay with you for as long as the channel stays open. To everyone else, stay inside. Stay together. Don't look up. We continue. The dome shutter has stopped. It did not finish opening. It stopped roughly 2/3 of the way. The motors went silent. I waited for them to start again. They have not. I have an idea about why they stopped, and I want to share it with you, because it is the first idea I have had tonight that feels like mine, and not like something that was given to me to think. I think Iris stopped them I think Iris, on the bus, with her hand on the radio, holding the channel open, has decided that the shutter is not allowed to finish opening. I do not know how she has decided this. I do not know what mechanism connects a child's hand on a bus radio to the motors of a planetarium dome shutter. I am not pretending to understand. I am telling you what I think. I think Iris is holding the line on her end, and the line includes my dome. I think the things in the back rows of the bus are not the only things tonight that respect what Iris says. I think the answer, when they ask, was supposed to be no, and that Iris, despite being the one asked first, is doing something with that answer that is bigger than her own bus. I think Holloway knew. I think the previous operator of this booth, who left a list in the bottom drawer of the reference desk, knew that one night someone in his chair would need to know the answer was no, and that the answer would have to be held by someone, somewhere, who was not afraid to say it. I think tonight that someone is on a stranded school bus, holding a radio dial, watching children in the back rows wait for something that, because of her, is going to keep waiting. I am going to keep talking. I am going to keep being the channel, for as long as Iris keeps her hand on the dial, for as long as Renna keeps the engine running, for as long as the booth holds. We continue. 1:38 a.m. I have been on the air for 3 hours and 38 minutes. I have not eaten. I have not stood up. I have not opened the booth door. The coffee in my paper cup is the same temperature as the room, which is cold, because the cooling system is still running and nobody has come to turn it off. I want to address everyone listening directly. Not the bus, not Iris, not Rena. You. You are the people who turned on a radio tonight expecting astronomy. You got something else. I want to acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge that some of you are alone in apartments. Some of you are in cars on highways that may or may not be the highways you remember. Some of you are in kitchens with humming walls. Some of you have children asleep down the hall, and you are watching them breathe, and you are not sure who exactly is doing the breathing. I want to tell you what I think you should do. I think you should stay where you are. I think you should not investigate anything. I think you should keep this broadcast on, even if it goes quiet, even if my voice cuts out, even if there are long stretches of nothing. The station's carrier signal will continue as long as the transmitter is powered, and the transmitter is in a vault 2 floors below me, and the vault is, as far as I can tell, still on the side of the building that exists. I think you should not call anyone tonight who is not in the room with you. The phone network is doing something I do not understand. The phone network is producing answers it shouldn't. The phone network is sending greetings with breathing under them. I think you should write down the names of the people you love, on paper, with a pen. I do not know why I think this. I have a strong intuition that it matters tonight. Names on paper, where the names are yours to keep, where the paper does not require a network, where the act of writing the name is the act of refusing to forget it. I think you should not write Senna. I think you should not write Marowell. I think you should not write any of the 7 names Iris wrote on the bus window. I think those names are looking for paper. Write the names of your people instead. Crowd them out. We're going to keep going. I am not going anywhere. This is WLLR 9913 AM. There was a 30-second silence on the air just now. I want to acknowledge it because if you were listening, you heard it. and you deserve to know that I did not cause it. I was talking. I was reading the previous paragraph. The microphone was live. The console showed a signal. And then, between two sentences, my voice did not transmit for 30 seconds. I kept talking. I watched the meter. The meter showed input. The output meter showed nothing. The signal was being captured and not released. Then it released. I do not know what happened in those 30 seconds. I do not know what, if anything, was transmitted in my voice while I was not aware that I was transmitting. I do not know if any of you heard something in those 30 seconds that you should not have heard. If you did, I am sorry. I am sorry. And I want you to know that whatever was said in those 30 seconds, it was not me. It may have been my voice. It was not me. I want to give you a rule for the rest of tonight. If you hear my voice say anything that sounds like an instruction, anything that asks you to do something, anything that tells you to go somewhere or look at something or open something, ignore it. The only instructions I am giving tonight are the ones I have already given. Stay inside. Stay together. Don't look up. Write the names of your people on paper. Any other instruction in my voice is not mine. I am going to keep talking. I am going to keep watching the meters. If I lose signal again, I will tell you on the air as soon as I am back. I will not pretend it didn't happen. Trust the rules. Don't trust the voice if the voice strays from the rules. This is WLLR 9913 AM. Rena texted at 1:51. Adler, bus is okay. Iris says we're going to be okay. The kids in the back rows are still in the back rows. Theo is still smiling. The 10th one hasn't turned around. The grass outside isn't moving anymore. I think whatever was under it lost interest, or moved on, or Iris told it to. She wrote one more line. I'm going to stop texting for a while. Iris says I should rest. She's going to keep her hand on the dial. She says you should keep talking. She says it helps. I want to read that last sentence again, because I want it on record. She says you should keep talking. She says it helps. That is the second time tonight a child has told me, indirectly, that my job is more important than I thought it was. The first time was when Rena said Iris would keep the radio on. This time the message is more direct. Keep talking. It helps. I am going to keep talking until either the broadcast cuts out, the booth fails, the building loses power, or I am physically incapable. I want to acknowledge to all of you that I am tired. I am not narrating from a place of dramatic alertness. I am narrating from a place of sustained, low-grade exhaustion, and the exhaustion is doing odd things to my perception. I see motion at the edges of my vision. I see the door of the booth with its hinges on the wrong side, and I think I see it breathing, slightly, in and out, the way a person's chest moves when they are pretending to sleep. I am not going to look at the door for the rest of tonight. I am going to keep the desk lamp on. I am going to keep the microphone live. I am going to keep reading the names of the things I am sure of. The console is in front of me. The microphone is in front of me. The chair under me is the chair I have sat in for 11 years. The paper cup with the cold coffee is in front of me. The notebook I write notes in is open to a clean page, and on the clean page I have written in pen the names of my mother, my father, my sister, my sister's 2 kids, and Rena, and Iris, and Theo, and the other 7 children on the bus by the names Rena gave me. I am crowding out the other names. We continue. The overhead light in the booth just came back on. It did not flicker. It did not stutter. It returned full and steady, the way a light returns when a circuit is restored. The booth is bright. The dark that had texture has gone back to being ordinary dark, which is to say, ordinary absence of light, in the corners where the overhead doesn't reach. I felt the weight behind me lift. I am going to be specific. I felt for the last hour a pressure on the back of my neck, the kind of pressure that comes from another person standing very close to you without touching you. The pressure is gone. I tested it by tilting my head slightly. There is nothing there. I am still not going to turn around. I am going to take the absence of pressure as a gift and not investigate it. The dome shutter above me has begun to close. The motors are running again, slowly, smoothly. The slit is narrowing. The projection system, which had gone partially transparent, is filling back in with a false sky I am used to. The orbits on the ceiling, the labeled bodies, the symbol that was rewriting itself, are fading. The dome is becoming a dome again. I do not know what changed. I am going to assume it was Iris. I am going to assume it was the answer being held on a bus by a child, for long enough that the question went elsewhere. I am going to assume that for now. I will let someone else, in daylight, decide if I was right. We continue. The sun rose at 6:14 a.m., which is the time it was supposed to rise. I want to mark that on the air. I want to mark it because for the last 7 hours I was not certain that the sun was going to rise on schedule, and the schedule was kept, and I want to give the universe credit for keeping one appointment tonight when it broke so many others. The sky outside my booth window is the correct sky. I opened the blinds 5 minutes ago. I was hesitant. I want to be honest. I was hesitant the way a person is hesitant to open a closet they remember locking. But the dome was quiet. The booth was warm. The desk lamp was no longer the only light. And the broadcast was still going. And I am still the broadcaster. And a broadcaster looks at things. So I looked. Pelham Avenue is full of cars again. The convenience store sign on the corner is on, and the inside of the store is lit. There is a woman walking a small dog past the bus stop. The dog is sniffing at a tree. The woman is looking at her phone. There is a delivery truck idling at the light. The street looks the way the street looks at 6:15 a.m. on a weekday. I want to tell you what is wrong with that. Nothing is wrong with that. That is what is wrong with it. I do not mean the street should still be empty. I do not mean the woman with the dog should be running, or screaming, or looking up. I mean only that for the last 7 hours. The city below this booth was a city I could not recognize. And now it is the city I have lived in for 11 years, and the transition between those two cities did not include a noise, an explanation, or an apology. The first moon has faded. The second moon is gone. Venus is back on the horizon where Venus belongs. Jupiter is where Jupiter is supposed to be, and the unlogged blue-white star next to it is not there anymore. The sky has returned to the sky I am paid to describe. I want to be grateful. I am grateful. I am also, and I am going to say this carefully, suspicious in a way I do not know how to fix. The sky put itself back the way it was. The sky did not say sorry. We continue. Rena texted at 6:30 a.m. Adler, we're on the road. The road is back. Service 14 looks normal. Mom, Pelham Four-Way is there. GPS works. I am going to take the kids home. I asked her about the children. She said all 10 are awake. Theo is awake. The new one in the back row is awake. Iris is normal. She doesn't remember anything she said last night. None of them do. They think they slept through the storm. I asked her what storm. She said, I don't know. They keep saying the storm. They asked me if the windshield wipers worked. They asked me if I was scared during the storm. They keep saying it like there was one. I want to make a note for myself, for the record, for anyone who reviews this transmission later. The children believe there was a storm. There was no storm. There was a coverage event in the language of a fire department recording I do not trust. There was a sky that rearranged itself. There was a list of 7 names a 9-year-old wrote on a window in breath fog. The children remember a storm. I am not going to correct them. Raina is not going to correct them. Whatever is or is not still happening in those children, the storm is a kinder frame than the truth, and the storm is what they have chosen, and they have earned the right to choose it. I asked Rena about the 10th child. She said, "There are 9. I just counted. There are 9. Did I tell you 10 last night?" I told her she did. She said, "I don't remember why I thought there were 10. I'm sorry, there are 9. I was tired. There were 10 at 1:04 a.m. There are 9 at 6:31 a.m. The 10th is missing from the bus and missing from Rena's memory. And I am the only one who is going to remember that the 10th was ever there. I will remember. I am putting it in this broadcast so that you remember too. We continue. The booth in daylight is the booth I have always known. The hinges on the door are on the correct side. I checked. I went to the door. I put my hand on it. I looked at the hinges. The hinges are on the right, where they have always been. I do not know whether they moved back, or whether they were never moved, or whether memory tonight is something I can no longer trust as evidence. The old star atlas is in the bottom drawer. I checked. The inside front cover is blank. There is no list. There is no sentence at the bottom. There is no handwriting from a man who died in 2011. I have the photograph of the list on my phone. The photograph is still there. The names are still legible. I am going to email the photograph to 3 different addresses, including my own personal email, before I leave this building. I am going to print it on the booth's small printer. I am going to put the printout in my wallet. I am going to make the list survive past tonight. The dome above me is dark. The projection system is off. The shutter is closed. The symbol that was rewriting itself in the center of the ceiling is gone. I checked. I looked up, in daylight, with the lights on, and there is no symbol there. I want to admit that when I looked up just now, I flinched. I'm going to flinch every time I look up for a while. I think most of the city is going to flinch every time they look up, even if they don't remember why. I think the children on Rena's bus, the ones who think they slept through a storm, are going to flinch too on certain nights when the moon is bright and they will not know what they are flinching from. We continue. My supervisor is back in the directory. I want to confirm this. I refreshed the staff page 3 times. His name is there. His extension is there. His photograph is there. He has been at this institution for 22 years, and the directory remembers all of them. I do not know where he was last night. I am going to call him at 9 a.m. when he gets to his office. I am going to tell him the following. I am going to tell him that something happened in the city last night between approximately 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. I am going to tell him that I have a transcript of the broadcast. I am going to tell him that I have a photograph of a page from the old atlas. I am going to tell him that I have text messages from Rena, the bus driver. I am going to tell him that I have a count of 9 souls on a school bus that briefly became 10 and then became 9 again. I am going to tell him these things, and I am going to watch his face. If his face shows recognition, I will know that he was elsewhere, doing something during the night that he is not going to explain to me. If his face shows blankness, I will know that he is one of the people who slept through the storm, like the children on the bus. And I will know that there are now two kinds of people in my city: the people who remember last night and the people who don't. I am going to find the other people who remember. I do not know how I am going to find them. I think I will recognize them. I think we will recognize each other. I think there is a way that a person walks the morning after a night that the city decided not to keep, that other people who also remember will be able to see. We continue. I want to say something to Rena and to Iris and to the 8 other children on that bus and to the 10th child, wherever the 10th child is now. Rena, you did your job tonight. You kept the engine running. You held the line. You sent me messages every time the world changed, and you trusted me to be on the other end. I am going to be on the other end any night you need me. The radio is here. The frequency is the same. I am the overnight operator. I will not move. Iris, I do not know what you are. I do not know whether the Iris who is going home this morning is the Iris who wrote the names on the window. I think she might be both. I think you might have folded back into yourself and decided to leave the older version somewhere a child can't reach until a night when the older version is needed again. If that is true, then I want to say this. Thank you. Thank you for keeping your hand on the dial. Thank you for telling the things in the back rows to wait. Thank you for being the answer that was held when the question was asked. To the other 8 children, I am glad you slept through the storm. I hope the storm stays a storm in your memory for the rest of your lives. To the 10th child who is not on the bus, and not in Rena's memory, and not in any record this morning, except this broadcast. I see you. I noted you. You were here. You were counted briefly by an adult who is paying attention, and I am putting your existence into the public record now, so that somewhere in the archive of WLLR 9913 AM, there is a sentence that says you were on a bus on Service 14 at 1:04 AM, and you were breathing, and you were smiling. You were here. This is WLLR 9913 AM, planetarium overnight feed, signing off at 6:58 AM local time. Your operator was Adler Voss. Your bus driver was Rena. Your unofficial co-broadcaster for the parts of the night that mattered most was a 9-year-old named Iris, who held her hand on a dial and kept the channel open between a bus and a dome. The sky over your city is the sky you remember. The orbits are where they are supposed to be. The moons are accounted for. Venus is on the horizon. Jupiter is in its house. The unlogged star is no longer next to it. The shutter is closed. The morning crew will be in at 7. I will brief them on what I can. I will tell them about a quiet night and a small instrument anomaly. I will not, today, tell them about the 7 names. I will not, today, tell them about the 10th child. I will tell them eventually. I will tell them when I have found the other people who remember, and we have decided together what to do with what we know. If you are one of the people who remembers, you can find me here. Same frequency, same booth, same chair, same paper cup. I will be here every overnight shift for as long as this institution allows me to sit at this microphone. If you are one of the people who slept through the storm, I am glad. I hope you stay glad. I hope the next time something asks you a question in the middle of the night, the answer that gets held for you is held by someone like Iris. Don't look up tonight. You don't have to. This is WLLR 9913 AM. Good night.